Hi guys, and welcome back to ESL and Eyeshadow with me, Beth. Today we are going to be doing an ESL tip and trick, and this is going to be the first in my tense series. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a short video about every single one of the tenses, focusing on a different part of the tense each time. So we're going to start with the most used tense, which is the present. So first of all, what we're going to look at today is the part of the present tense that scares people the most, and that is present perfect, simple and continuous. So the reason this scares people is mainly, I've found through teaching for the last 14 years, because it's not explained very well. However, there are some easy ways to remember how to use the present perfect simple and continuous, and remember them in a way that will help you use them correctly. First of all, let's start with the present perfect simple. We form the present perfect simple with using either have or has, depending on if it's first or third person, and then the past participle of the verb. So that's the third form. For example, take, first form, infinitive, took, second form, past simple, taken, the third form, the past participle. So remember, always have or has in the positive or the negative and the past participle. Now, why do we use the present perfect? Well, the main reason we use the present perfect simple is to talk about actions that began in the past but have a consequence or an influence on the present moment. Let's take, for example, a past simple sentence. Yesterday I went to the shops. This is a complete action in the past. It has no bearing on what I'm doing at this moment now. You can see this by the use of the time phrase yesterday. Now let's take that same expression and put it into the present perfect simple. I have been to the shops. Have plus the past participle, been. I have been to the shops. Now we would say this because someone has either asked us where we have just been, and we are responding with I've been to the shops, or because it has a consequence, your trip to the shops, on the present moment. For example, I have been to the shops, so we have coffee in the house. So we're talking about an action that we did in the past, go to the shops, but that it has an effect on the present moment. Another reason we use the present perfect simple is to talk about actions that are recently completed. So, for example, why are you red-faced? I have been out for a jog. So we're showing what our recent past activity was. Another reason we use the present perfect simple is to talk about experience. And I say experience as in things we have done in the past, and we don't particularly care when they happened, just that they happened. So for example, I have been skydiving. Wasn't fun, don't recommend it, terrified of heights. It doesn't matter when I went skydiving. I don't say I went skydiving in 2008. I say I have been skydiving. So I've done it, but you don't need to know when. For example, I have played Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. You don't need to know when, you just need to know that I've played it. So, to recap, we use the present perfect simple to talk about actions in the past that have an immediate consequence in the present moment, and for actions that happened in the past, which are experience, and time is not important. We also use the present perfect simple with certain words. For example, just, yet, already, for, since, ever, and never. We use just to show an action is recently completed. Now, recently completed can be in the last minute or in the last 30 minutes. For example, I have just brushed my hair. I did that 10 minutes ago. But it still looks good, so I have just brushed my hair. A recently completed action. We use yet in the negative and also to ask questions. For example, have you finished your homework yet? I don't know if the action is complete, so I'm asking. And from most of my students, the response will be, no, I haven't finished my homework yet. So this is an example of the present perfect simple in the negative form. Now we have the word already. We use already to show an action has been completed sooner than we expected it to be. So for example, you have some homework to do. You think it will take you an hour, but it actually only takes you half an hour. So you would say, I have already finished my homework. This goes the same for things like books you've read, films you've seen, or activities you've done. Usually when people ask you about them. Have you ever been skydiving? Yes, I have already been skydiving and I'm not doing it again. As you can see there, I use the question form, have you ever? This is because we use ever with the present perfect simple to ask questions, to ask about experiences. Have you ever done something? No, this is the first time I've ever done something. To answer the question in the negative, we would use never. Have you ever dyed your hair purple? No, I have never dyed my hair purple. Obviously I'm lying. I did that this morning. So, two other words that we use with the present perfect simple are for and since. And this is when we want to introduce time into the present perfect simple. For and since are both two sides of the same coin. We use them to do the same thing, but we use them in different ways. So for is to describe a period of time, and since is to describe a point in time. So for example, I have lived in Spain for 6 years. I have lived in Spain since 2014. Now there is an easy way to remember if you should be using for or since. And this is by doing this very, very simple exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 years. If you can count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, then you're using for to describe a period of time. For 6 hours, for 2 days, for 3 weeks, for 2 minutes. If it's a point in time, think of how the word since is spelled. S-I-N-C-E. There's an I in there. On top of the I, there's a little point. So remember the since as being a point in time. So I have lived in Spain since 2015. If you can say a specific time, so a date or a time as in 3 o'clock, or a year, or a point in the past like last summer, then we would use since. So that is basically why and how we use the present perfect simple. Okay, now we're going to talk about the present perfect continuous. And this is really easy. I know it sounds like it's going to be difficult, but again, it's actually quite simple. We only use the present perfect continuous really for two things, and that is actions and their duration. So actions that were in progress up to the point that we are at in the present, and actions that stopped just before this point in the present. So for example, we form this using have or has, been for the past participle, and then a verb in its continuous form. So I could say, I have just been brushing my hair, because I did it just before this video started. So it's an action that stopped just before this moment, but it was a continuous action, so a long action. For actions that are continuing still to this present moment, again, we would use the present perfect continuous. For example, we have been working for hours. Why can't we take a break? So this implies we are still working now, it started in the past, it's still going on, and they want to stop. Again, something I hear from my students quite regularly. So let's quickly recap. Present perfect, simple. Have or has in the present or negative, plus the past participle to describe experience, to describe actions that began in the past and have an effect on the present moment. Present perfect continuous, these are for actions that began in the past and are still ongoing right now, or actions that began in the past and stopped just before this present moment. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you have any questions at all, please do leave a comment in the box below and I will get back to you. If there's any content or grammar you want to see in the future, again, leave a comment and I'll make sure I make a video on that for you. And look out for my next video where we're going to be talking about the past perfect continuous and the past perfect simple. So take care and I'll see you next time.